Welcome to Global Tax Talks Tax in 60 Seconds. I'm Will Morris, and here are some things to watch out for in the coming week. Last week was, publicly at least, quite quiet on Pillar 2, but nevertheless, a couple of things still to keep an eye on. First, there were Working Party 11 meetings going on with discussions about safe harbours, the side-by-side agreement, etc. As of the time of filming, there was no news about this, although I don't expect a dramatic breakthrough. But these discussions were also a precursor to inclusive framework meetings this week that will be eagerly dissected to look for signs of progress, or lack thereof, on the side-by-side agreement, and the likelihood of anything meaningful/effective by the end of the year. The second thing, just to note briefly, is that amidst the excitement over the potential side-by-side agreement, the machinery of Pillar 2 implementation grinds relentlessly on, with consultations, law, regulations, and forms continuing to be published almost daily. Just last week, for example, countries as different as the Netherlands, Finland, Switzerland, and Bermuda were publishing Pillar 2 related documents, and it's the same every week. Really, truly, even though the longer-term picture may still be cloudy, crossing your fingers and hoping that this isn't going to happen is simply not a viable strategy. What we did hear about last week, though, and would expect to resonate again this week, is about DSTs. There were two things. First, a group of US congressmen wrote to President Trump ahead of his state visit to the UK, asking him to get the UK to agree to withdraw its 2% DST, or otherwise make clear that a new Section 301 investigation would be opened as a prelude to imposing tariffs if the DST remains in place. We'll see what happens, but a UK NGO raised the temperature slightly with a substantially increased estimate of the amount of tax that the rather hard-up UK will raise from its DST over the 5-year period 2024 to 2029 to $6.5 billion. The other thing which also raised the temperature was the decision of the French Constitutional Council that the French DST is constitutional. They rejected numerous challenges brought against the DST related to equality principles, although it's perhaps worth noting that these were decisions based on interpreting the French constitution rather than under EU law. Nevertheless, it does remove an off-ramp or way of de-escalating, leaving French legislators with only difficult choices because of France's significant budget deficit. More to come. And then one rather sad note to finish. A year ago, with much fanfare, Mario Draghi, the former ECB chair and Italian prime minister, published a robust and much praised report on EU competitiveness and the need for swift and dramatic action in order to restore that competitiveness, including through a considerable number of new tax measures. Last week, in reviewing progress 1 year on, Draghi said that the EU is now in a more difficult place than it had been when the report was published. And he said, according to reports, that Europe acts too slowly and that its citizens fear that their governments have not grasped the gravity of the moment. Certainly, any actual changes in the tax area have been very modest so far, and an online Draghi tracker from the Joint European Disruptive Initiative estimates that only 14% of the Draghi report has so far been implemented. Ah well. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and come back next week so that you stay global tax ready.